Hey everyone. If you've been watching anything on this channel, you'll notice that this is the first video I've ever talked in. So this is kind of a new thing for me. I'm going to try it out. I want to do some different kinds of videos in the future. Takes me a long time to get some of these covers out. I'm a full-time student, so making the tabs, recording my cover, recording the video for the cover, editing it all together, all that stuff takes time. So I wanted to do something I can do a little bit quicker and do it in between the covers. So kind of my first shot at something like this. Let me know how it goes and if you guys want more of this kind of stuff in the future. But today I'm going to do a full track-by-track review and breakdown of the new album from Alt called From the New World. So I kind of want to do something different. I don't want to give like a numbered or a letter score at the end. I think music is pretty subjective and it's a hard thing for me to grade. So a number that I give you or a letter that I give you at the end of this video, to me it kind of doesn't really mean anything. So what I'd much rather do is just give you some thoughts track by track and then some overall thoughts on what I thought did work for this album, what I thought didn't work for this album, let you know who I would recommend this for, and then give you my top 3 songs from the album. So getting right into it here, let's just start with the first track. It's called A Flash of Light. There isn't really too much I want to say about this track. It's kind of just a short album opener. I think it's about 1.5 minutes long. It really just kind of sets the mood for the album. I do personally like a good opener like this, kind of cinematic, all the cool synth and production and stuff. I think it can make an album feel more like a cohesive product rather than a bunch of singles. I think this album definitely ran the risk of doing that, seeing that 5 of the 10 tracks were released as singles. And this is just an instrumental track, leaving only 4 new songs if you've been following the band at all. So this was a nice touch for me, just to make it feel more like I was listening to an album rather than a bunch of singles that they put together. But overall, I think this song does a good job of setting the mood for the album, and really it serves as a good kind of intro or fade in for the first real track, Remnant. So yeah, right off the bat with Remnant, this song really reminds me of bands like Currents, kind of mixed with Bildharte. All that kind of thal, modern, like low-tuned, genty stuff. Really, the entire album seems to draw a lot of influence from these 2 bands primarily. There's a lot of those ambient guitars, kind of those big like rhythms split up with just like cool melodic riff ideas on the guitars, all those alien noises, all that kind of stuff. But I really love this opening riff and this opening track. If you listen really closely, there's some cool production elements in the background. There's some like reversed guitars, some sound effects happening, stuff that adds a lot of like production value to the song, I think. I also think it has a pretty strong chorus overall compared to the rest of the songs on this album. Between each chorus, we kind of get a breakdown. I think the second breakdown that happens after the second chorus is really cool. I love when bands can use kind of new creative elements in an otherwise pretty standard song. You've got an opening riff, some kind of like clean, softer verse, some kind of chorus, repeat some of those sections, do a second chorus, do a breakdown, and then a third chorus. That's a pretty standard structure for a lot of this gent, thal, like modern metalcore kind of stuff. So I like when bands can do some new elements, some new sounds. I think the sounds design that they use in the breakdown just kind of helps it stand out from some of those other songs. But yeah, otherwise it's a pretty standard song in terms of structure. But again, that production and the types of sounds and noises that they're using, I think it makes it stand out from bands like Currents and Bildharte, even though you can clearly see the influence. Moving on to track 2, we've got Aquila, I think. I think the song starts off really cool. It's got the low screams mixed with kind of that clean atmospheric section at the beginning. I think that provides some nice contrast. And this song also has like a triplet feel, which I think it might be one of the only ones on the album that has that all the way through. I think that really works to kind of set itself apart from the rest of the songs on this album, especially with this kind of atmospheric, genty stuff. After a while, the songs can kind of blend together, so it's nice that this one has a distinct feel to it. A few things I really like from this song: the bridge riff around the 2.5 minute mark, I think is pretty cool. And the chorus in the song overall, I thought it was all right, but really it's the bridge riff and then the low vocals kind of in the beginning, and that contrast between the screams and the clean production is kind of what made this song stand out to me. The ending breakdown at the end of the song, I think it works fine, but it's not really anything new for this genre overall. All right, moving on to track number 4, Memory of Light. You can't do an album like this without having some kind of energetic, bouncy song, this kind of up-tempo thing, and you gotta have the harmonic riffs in there. So this is something I think Alt does pretty well on this album, kind of their take on this type of song. I really like the use of the more whispered and like affected vocals throughout the song, the more processed stuff. There's also a 4 on the floor section in the middle of the song that kind of has that nice driving, stompy feel to it. I also really appreciate that this song doesn't do another clean chorus. The 2 songs before that had that, so I think this helps it not blend in as much with those songs. And yeah, overall, this song, I think it's alright. Doesn't really do anything super new for the genre. It does a lot of things we've already seen before, but on this album, it's pretty fun. It has some cool moments, and it's a pretty good, energetic track. Alright, next up we've got Echoes. This is track number 5. I guess you could call it more of the ballad of this album, if you can really call it that. It's definitely one of the more calm, atmospheric songs. There's a lot more clean vocals in this one, and I really like that use of kind of the low fry vocals that he does during the first verse. The clean vocal contrast was really nice on this song. There's also a breakdown at the end of the song. Can't have a metal song without a breakdown anymore, I guess. So I think it's alright. It has some kind of those cool glitchy alien sounds, but other than that, I don't really have too much to say about this song. Felt like a pretty standard, like, halfway point for an album like this. A lot of bands will do some kind of song like this that's just a little more chill, and kind of calm to break up the more aggressive stuff that they have spread out throughout the rest of the album. Alright, track number 6, we got the Orphan Breed. This one was personally one of my favorites on the album. It had me banging my head pretty much the whole time on my first listen through. I really love the energy in this song, and they've been using a lot of these production elements throughout the whole album. We've got these like choppy sounding synths that happen a lot, but I think in this song they utilized all those things really well, especially the opening riff. I thought all the production in there, the choppy synths, all that stuff worked really well for the song and really stood out as kind of the best version of some of those effects that they've been using, for me personally at least. I also thought there were a few moments where I was like genuinely surprised in this song, which it's becoming more and more rare for metal bands to do that kind of stuff. A lot of songs can be pretty formulaic now, and you know, there's only so many like low tune, rhythmic, slow halftime breakdowns you can do. But what I really liked about this song is around like the 1 minute mark, there's kind of this like hyper energetic drum loop that's happening, and it builds up. We've heard it a few times in the song already at this point, and usually it leads to like a much faster feeling section, but they kind of pull the rug out from under us again around the 1 minute mark, and it does this whole build up, and it's got the high energy, and you think it's going to go back into a faster section, and then it just drops into this like halftime breakdown that I thought was super fun and super cool. And it also, again, it just kind of surprised me. So I think the more that metal bands can utilize things like that and surprise the listener, I think that's a really good thing. All right, next we got track number 7, Dissect Yourself. This one kind of has the same feel and energy to me as the song that came right before it, and Memory of Light, really. I think it just kind of reminds me of both of those songs. I do like the lead guitar riff that plays during that kind of intro fade in, and it comes back a bunch throughout the song. But really at this point in the album, for me, this song doesn't really offer anything new. It kind of just retreads some things that we've already heard them do earlier on the album, and I would argue they've already done them a little bit better. So I think it still kind of works on its own. It's a decent song, but in the context of the album, I think it just kind of starts to do more of the same, without doing really anything that makes it stand out. It's got all the choppy synths, the alien noises, and the breakdown and all that stuff, and then it kind of has that same similar tempo and energy that we've already heard in some of the previous songs. So overall, this one didn't really stand out all that much to me. All right, next up we got Emanate. I like the vocal effects and some of the layering at the beginning of this song. And I think it has a really cool riff that kicks in around the 37-second mark. The chord progression that the riff follows kind of caught me by surprise. I think it flowed nicely into the chorus, which overall I thought this song had one of the stronger choruses on the whole album. It also does another like harmonic based riff like one of the previous songs, and it's fine, but I think that whole section goes on maybe 15 seconds too long. It's like a whole minute there in the middle of this kind of harmonic riff idea. One new element that this song does is it has kind of a pitch shifted breakdown at the end, where the guitars drop the tuning a little bit. I think that's neat, and it's the first time that they've used that effect on this album. So again, it kind of creates more contrast, especially towards the end of the album. We're 8 songs in now, and they're still kind of giving us something new to listen to and to make the song stand out. But yeah, overall, I thought the song actually had some really strong riffs. I really, really liked the riff that started around the 3-minute, 15-second mark. And the chord progressions kind of that these riffs follow, I think are pretty neat and pretty unique, and they kind of stand out from the other riffs on this album. All right, we got 2 songs left. Number 9, we've got Ephemeral. I think that's how you say it. Really love this song. The use of the piano strings, all those orchestral sounds near the beginning, I thought that worked really well to set it apart from the rest of the songs. You know, we're 9 songs out of 10, and at this point we're still getting kind of new elements to break up the songs and help make them feel fresh. But as a guitar player, personally, I thought this song had some of the best guitar riff writing on the entire album. I think the Vilharte influence like really pokes through on this song. And on my notes, I've got that the riff around the 2:25 mark was like one of my favorites on the whole album. A total sucker for riffs like that with all the cool like pre-bends and all the weird sounds and stuff. I think this is kind of the best that they did on the album as far as the riff writing in that kind of style goes. So yeah, as a guitar player, really, really enjoyed this song. And aside from that, the orchestra and all the piano parts and stuff, I thought added a really nice touch to this song. And to me, it really stood out as one of the highlights of this album. All right, last track. We're on Cycles. This is track number 10. It's pretty standard kind of closer for this kind of metal album. It's got more ambient elements, more of those clean vocals. I think there's a really, really cool riff around the 1.5 minute mark. It's got kind of this like reverse sound effect going on, like these fade in guitar things. I think it's really cool, and again, they're giving us something new to kind of latch onto that makes the song have like a distinct element to it. And yeah, similar to the previous song, I think the Vilharte influence like really pokes through again on this song, especially in the riff writing. But I'm kind of all here for it. I love that band and I love that kind of style of riff, and I think they're doing it really well on the last couple songs on this album. And yeah, overall, I think it was working really well as an album closer for me. I do wish it was a little bit longer, or that they did something at the very end just to make it feel like more of a final song. I feel like the ending riff, it kind of just repeated some stuff that they'd already done in that song, and then it sort of just does this like quick little fade out, like glitchy sound to end the album. I wish maybe it kind of had a bigger moment, or that they added some new element. Even honestly, if they would have flipped the last 2 songs, just in the order of them, I think that could have worked, because we could have ended with that piano and that orchestral thing, just to kind of give it a really distinct ending. I feel like this album just sort of ended and the final riff was a little bit lackluster for me. But overall, I think this song is fine. Just again, as an album closer, I think it could have had just a little bit stronger of an ending. So yeah, that does it for the track-by-track review. I want to give some thoughts here now on what I thought maybe didn't work as well just for the album as a whole. One of the things that just started to kind of get repetitive at the end of the album for me was the production elements, specifically just the choppy synthesizer sounds that they use. I thought that started to get really overused towards the middle and kind of end of the album. There were a few spots where I thought it was utilized really well, But that plus some of just the ambient clean guitars and whatever synths they had layered in there, I think just some of those sounds started to blend together and make a lot of the songs sound too similar to one another. I also thought that the very ending of the album, the very last song, it had some overall interesting moments, but I feel like the last minute or so of the album was just kind of underwhelming. And that kind of sucked for me, just to have the last couple songs before that be really strong and have some really great riffs and ideas, and then just for the final song to kind of be whatever, especially just that last minute of it being a rehash of things that we'd already heard in that same song. Just kind of wish there was a more distinct ending, just to cap things off of the very final song. But yeah, overall, those are kind of the things I thought maybe worked against the album as a whole. So now that we got some of that stuff out of the way, here's more positive, what I thought worked overall for the album. Really, for me, again, as a guitar player, I thought the riff writing on this album was really good. There were a lot of big moments that I was just like totally stoked about. And I think it pays really good tribute to bands like Vildharte, Currents, bands that I've already mentioned in this review, but it still contains enough original elements that it kind of stands on its own 2 feet. Vocal-wise, I thought that the singer did a really nice job. There's a lot of contrast in the types of screams that they use, a lot of low screams, mid screams, high screams, a lot of variation in what they were using, and then the clean vocals sounded really good as well, I thought. I also liked that they used a lot of kind of like affected, processed vocals that had some kind of like radio effect on it or lo-fi effect or something like that. I really liked those moments on the album, and I thought those stood out. And yeah, even though, as I mentioned, a few of those production elements got stale after a while, I thought there were some moments too where they utilized some new element that made the song feel more fresh. Again, the piano and orchestral stuff at the end of the album I thought was really cool. And overall, I think the production is really beneficial for the album, and it helps maintain a nice atmosphere and sound throughout the album that makes them sound like a distinct band, like they sound like their own thing. Even if that thing does get a bit repetitive at times, I think it really works pretty well overall. All right, so who would I recommend this album to? As I've already mentioned plenty throughout this review, I think bands like Currents, Vildharte, if you like either of those bands even a little bit, I would definitely recommend this album to you. I think it draws a lot of influence from those bands, and yeah, if you're a fan of that kind of metal, then I think this album is going to have something that you're going to enjoy on it. Really, if you're a fan of any of the modern gent, metalcore, or whatever label you want to put to it, bands with atmospheric production and a lot of rhythmic focus on the music, low tunings, 7 strings, 8 strings, all that stuff like Spirit Box, Invent, Animate, Loathe. I think you're really gonna find something that you enjoy in this album. At least a couple of the songs I think will stand out to you. So yeah, that's who I'd recommend this to. Really, just any fans of kind of that modern gent core thing that we've got going on right now. All right, moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to rank my top 3 songs from this album. At number 3, I'm going to put Remnant. I really liked that one as kind of an album opener, the first real track on the album. At number 2, I'm going to say the Orphan Breed. I really liked the breakdowns in this song, and I thought the riffs were really fun, and overall the energy of the song was really good. And my number 1 from this album is hands down Ephemeral. I really love the piano and the orchestral elements on this song, and as a guitar player, I think this had some of the better riffs on the entire album. Alright, so that's going to do it for the album review of From the New World by Alt. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this album. And if you made it this far in the video, thanks for sticking around and sticking with me while I'm kind of figuring this out. This is, again, the first time I've ever talked on camera like this for a video, so it's a little weird for me to just sit in my room and talk to myself. It feels a little silly, but I'm happy to do it, and it was a lot of fun. So I want to do more of this kind of stuff moving forward. Let me know what music, what albums, songs you guys want me to react to or review in the future. If you have your own music, your own band, if you make music, drop those Spotify links in the comments. I'll be happy to check that out and promote some of that stuff in future videos. But other than that, don't really have much for you guys. So again, thanks for checking out this video. Check out the Patreon if you haven't already. It's in the description. I think it's $2 a month as of right now. It's got all the tabs I've ever done on this channel for all the covers I've done. It's got a place for song requests if there's tabs that you want that don't currently exist. I'd be happy to take a crack at those. And overall, it's just a good way to support the channel while I'm working my way up the monetization ladder here. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't. Otherwise, I guess do all the liking and the subscribing and all that good stuff. That's about it. I don't really know how to end these videos, so I will see y'all in the next one.